Hi everyone, Amy here with Amy's Wares, and I have a fun single layer card to share with you today using some new products from the January release at A Colorful Life Designs. Now for the background, I'm going to use this new Neuro Doodle Heart from A Colorful Life Designs. It was actually designed by an artist named Shannon Green in this gorgeous, adorable new stamp set from the release as well. I'm so stoked about the new stamp set. So here's a photo of the finished card. I have the front and the inside to show you how it came together, but it really was simple in design. Anyone could do it, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. So I am laying this down initially, and then you'll see in a moment I think better, and I think, don't be lazy, Aim. Go get some pixie spray. Just do it. So I put all these magnets down, and then I decided, no, I'm gonna get the pixie spray. So I sprayed the back of it. Now the pixie spray is a temporary fixative. It will help kind of hold these little delicate stencils in place while you're ink blending. Not so much the whole thing won't shift around, it's just you don't want the little delicate pieces on a stencil like this to shift around on you and kind of move and muddy up your design. So I laid down the pixie spray and I'm brayering it down directly onto a card base, and this is A2 size Nina Classic Crest Solar White 110 pound. And now I come back in with these magnets. Now I'm showing you they're very strong magnets, but you can see they're very cool. They're shaped like pawns, very ergonomic, and they're holding my stencil and the card panel, actually the card base, in place while I do this ink blending. So this is a new purchase. I'm very excited about it. It's a small business in Utah called Glassboard Studios, and they did offer me a coupon to pass on to you guys. So if you guys are in the market for one of these amazing magnetized glass mats, be sure to check them out. And my coupon is Amy's Wares 20, and I'll link that as well as links to what I have in the video description box below if you're interested in any of that. So I'm just moving around these magnets as I do some very light ink blending. I'm using the color Hickory Smoke from the Distress ink line, and I'm using my blending brush from the Rabbit Hole Designs. Now I usually use Catherine Pooler, which you've probably seen, but I don't have any of her neutrals, so when I'm dealing with grays or blacks or browns, I tend to reach for my Distress inks that I also get in the mini size. So here I'm just cleaning off my work surface. It's super easy to do on a glass mat, and just carefully wiping off the stencil and setting that aside before I move on to the next step. Now, this sort of design may be possible with some patience and if you're really good at free range stamping. However, I would definitely recommend using some sort of stamp positioner to do this technique, just because you want it to stay straight. If you need to stamp it again, you want to have that possibility. So I have this card base loaded up directly in my MISTI. This is an original size MISTI, and I realize there's some residual pixie spray. So what I have here real quick is an adhesive eraser. If you get, sometimes pixie spray can get a little gunky. I don't know if it's because it's sitting too long or maybe you didn't shake it up very well, but every once in a while I'll feel some residual stuff on my card base, and you can just brush or rub an adhesive eraser over it and it'll get rid of that residue. So that's what I was doing there. So here I have the card base nestled up into the corner of my original size MISTI. Now I didn't do the math here. Math is not my friend. I don't really plan ahead, so I was very lucky that this worked out as well as it did in terms of placement, because I really didn't know. I thought, you know, I could royally mess this up or it could go okay. So I did stop at this point and at least get my grid transparency just to make sure that I was straight, because this would be an unfortunate design to keep stamping, you know, at an angle all the way down the card. So that would not be ideal. So make sure it's straight, either by using the grid on your MISTI or by using the grid transparency. I got that one from Simon Says Stamp. I'll link that as well below. So first thing I did was stamp and then figure out how many of those little blocks on my grid in the MISTI that I needed to move up to kind of create the spacing that I wanted as I moved down the card. And I realized in this case 2 blocks was perfect. So what I did is I stayed flush against the right side of that MISTI to make sure that that stayed in the same position, and then I just kept moving up 2 blocks every time. Now after the 3, I decided to bring in color because I wanted one of them to pop. So I grabbed this Do-Si-Do ink pad from Catherine Pooler, and I'm going to do this one in this nice bright kind of corally red color. And then I will clean that off really well and then go back and continue the rest in gray. So this is a really fun way to use your stamps if you have one that's kind of, you know, a nice straight line like this. I've done this a couple times before and I always just love how it turns out. And it also looks really cute too if you put like a critter in front of it. As long as you can read one of the lines, then it's totally fine to cover up part of it with a critter, and it's just kind of a cool, unique background. But in this case, obviously I'm using it more like a focal point off the subtle stenciled background, and as you can see here, look, it fit perfectly. So that was total luck. I'm not normally that lucky when I try and do something like this, so I was really happy that it turned out well. So if you're worried that it might not work, then absolutely you could do the math, but that's not how I roll. So but I'm pleased with how it turned out. And then I decided to grab another stamp from this adorable new stamp set and stamp on the inside of the card. So with the original size Misty, you do have enough room to kind of open up an A2 size card. Here I'm struggling with my other magnet, but I have that nestled in the right corner, and again I'm just going to stamp on the inside of the card. I'm just conditioning the stamp real quick with my finger because I haven't used that one yet, and it could still have the manufacturer's seal on it. So when you have a new clear stamp, rub it either with your hands or an eraser just to kind of get that gunk off, and then you'll get a much better impression. So I stamped "Love You So Much" on the inside with that same gray ink that I used on the front, and then I thought, oh, these cute little hearts in the stamp set too, I might as well use those, and I stamped those down and used that same Do-Si-Do color just to kind of tie that in from the front of the card. So really fun way to use these new stamps. I was so excited to learn that Mary Kay brought another stamp set to the shop at A Colorful Life Designs. This is only the second ever. So there was one called Altitude, which was gorgeous. It went beautifully with the August release. Not this last August, but the August before, and then now this one, and it's just so fun, and I love her stamps. I love the fonts that she uses and what they say. Here I'm just stamping the back with my custom stamp, and I decide to round the corners with a corner chomper, but I decide not to do blingage. You could, you know, step it up if you wanted and add some embellishments to the front of the card or maybe some splatter, but I decided to keep it simple. I like the gray and the pop of that corally red color and the stamping, and yeah, that's going to finish the card. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing. Do be sure to check out the rest of the January release. There are loads of amazing stencils in this release. So not just Valentine's Day, great for year-round masculine cards, some cool grungier looking ones. So be sure to check it out and use my coupon AmyFan10 and save on your complete order. So thanks so much for checking it out, and I'll catch you next time.